You have to think about when you retire. For our parents' generation, the baby boomers, and even for our generation, there'll be a very large percentage, especially of baby boomers, who don't have a house note when they retire.
And so we are learning more and more about how to master money. Love that book.
Welcome. No, God is so good. These will change your life.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Mastering Money Mondays, where each and every week we infuse a topic that we all can use to help us transition from one of being a debtor and or saver into a wealth creator. I am Mr. Green. By day, I am a retirement plan manager, but by night, I'm an investor and an entrepreneur, but most of all, a financial freedom fighter.
Absolutely. My name is Cynthia Pete. I am IT project manager by day. I am a real estate investor. I've done wholesaling, fix and flip. Now looking for rental properties to add to my portfolio. And like Lonzy said, I am a financial freedom fighter.
Yes, indeed. So why do we have this podcast? Why Master Money Mondays? Really simple. It's one, because we've been taught how to make money, meaning going get your education, get a good paying job, climb up that corporate ladder. We've been taught how to manage money. So put that money in a checking savings account or even a retirement savings account like a 401k, 403b, set it and forget it. But we have not been taught how to master money, which is taking that same dollar, multiplying it over and over and over and over again in order to create wealth. So episode 14 is retirement an age or a number, right? I know Aaliyah said, age ain't nothing but a number. Hey, so Cynthia, is retirement an age or a number?
I think it's both.
Okay.
Because I think for our generation, in any generation, we're taught to work till we're 65, right? That's the retirement age. Actually, it's not. It's 67.
Right.
For any of us.
They did push it up on
Yeah,
us.
for Gen X and beyond, the age is now 67. But I actually think it's both, because I think people really need to come up with a number of when they want to retire and work, an age in which they want to retire and work backwards. We default to, okay, well, I'm gonna work till I'm 65. But here's the reality: a lot of people work till they're 65, depending on Social Security, depending on their 401k, and not nobody, but a lot of people don't even calculate if that's going to be enough money. Am I saving enough? Yes, I'm doing the match, but is the match enough? Do I need to do a Roth, after tax money to really live that life that I want to live in retirement? So for me personally, I think it's both. I think you need to pick an age. And for everybody in their 20s and 30s who think you're going to want to work till you're 65, trust us, it's in our 40s. By the time you hit 40, you like, woo, I have to do this 20 more years. I do this 25 more years. Nice. And so I really think you need to think about that number. And so for me, I picked a new number and I worked my way back. And now I'm working my way backwards. How can I meet that number? What does it look like? I'm sitting down with wealth creators and retirement planners to see what do I have to do to retire. And let's talk about retirement. Retirement may just be I'm retiring from the corporate 9 to 5, but I'm not necessarily retiring from working, but you're retiring from having to fully depend on the 9 to 5 to live. So in actuality, I think it's both.
Okay, that's good. I like that. You know what I mean? I agree with you on that. And one of the things that I have seen, maybe a little bit more than what I would care to see, is that because we have allowed to equate an age with retirement, that it creates this thought process in us, this where we've already made it up in our minds that we're going to work to a certain age. Now, here's the problem that I have with that, especially with me being in the retirement space as long as I've been in, is that it goes back to what you're saying. The age is there, so a target is there, but the plan that is coinciding with the target is simply not there. So what do I mean by that? We, especially individuals in the workforce, have already made it up in our mind because normal retirement age, well, it was 65, now it's 67. We've already made it up in our minds that we're going to work until we're 67, right? But as we're working, we're not really keeping abreast of what's happening with our money. So by the time we hit that mark, that age 67, and we're looking at our accounts, whether it's our 401k, our 403b, our checking or savings account, we get hit with a hard and harsh reality, which is, I don't have enough money.
How long is this money going to last?
Yeah, how is it going? How
Yes.
is it? Because a lot of people are outliving their retirement savings. And so I think having an age is good, but having a number is, if I can dare say this, gooder. I know it ain't a word, but y'all forgive me, okay? Gooder. And the reason why is because it gives you something to aspire to. And so now if you hit that number, the age almost could become mute, right? And the reason why I say that is because depending on the frequency and how fast you're making money and what that number is actually for you, you may be able to hit that target at 45 as opposed to 65, or maybe even 55 as opposed to 65. And so there's a formula that you can use that may be helpful to at least get an idea of what it may take for you to become in a position to be either retired, like say, Cynthia, you might want to continue to work, but just exiting an environment that you no longer feel is serves you, right? So what you can do is you can first take your monthly expenses. So calculate that. What are you expending every month, right? And then you annualize it. So what do we mean by that? We mean taking the monthly expenses and multiplying it by 12 months in a year, right? So that gives you an idea of what your annual expense is. Now, you can take the age 65 date or age 67 and take your birthday and do subtraction. So you subtract, let's just use 65 from however old you are now, right? So that gives you a certain number of years. You can take your annual expenses, right? Multiply by the number of years until you get to 65, 67, and that becomes a financial freedom or retirement number. Then you might want to add a couple million on there for inflation, right? But at least now you have a number to thrive to. I don't want to say strive, but a number to thrive to that you can say, okay, if I hit this number, I can retire. And so it goes back to what you said. I can put a plan in place behind that to see how I can get to that number. I know for me it's 10 and 10. 10 years, 10 mil, but that's me. But at least I know that now, right? So now that I know that there are some things that need to be done in order to get there. So, and that's when the mastering money component starts coming into that, because now you can be creative and innovative and more thoughtful on how you want to manage your money to get to that retirement number rather than just that age.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. And just to add to that, you have to think about when you retire, right? For our parents' generation, the baby boomers, and even for our generation, there'll be a very large percentage, especially of baby boomers, who don't have a house note when they retire, because they bought, that's generation, they got married early, they bought a house, they stayed in the same house. So when they retired, they don't have a mortgage, they don't have rent. That's not necessarily, it can be the same for Gen X, the same, but for millennials and Gen Zs, they're not buying houses, they're not getting married at a early rate or is the rate of our parents. And so you have to determine what are going to be your expenses, when you retire. That makes a difference because if you're renting, rent is just going to go up. So you're retiring, our retirement is not going to be the same as our parents' retirement, right? Because they have your biggest expense, which is where you live, is off their plate, right? But for us, it may not necessarily be off our plate. So all these things you really need to take into consideration um, when you're thinking about your retirement. And you really do need to walk through it with a professional. If if your job offers it with a financial planner, like so few people I know have financial planners because they're like, well, I don't want to pay anybody. I don't want, listen, when I tell you my financial planners have talked me off a ledge, have, shown me, what I can do. They keep me on track for when I want to retire, what that looks like. They give me a reality check. Well, you may want to retire at this age, Cynthia, but this money is not saying the same thing.
Right.
So it allows me to go back to the drawing board and us collaborate with meeting that.
That is so key. I mean, having a support system, having a team, because they're going to present to you things that you may not have even considered. And I'm not going to go down a rant because we try to keep this podcast very, very simple and concise. But
Yes.
we spend thousands of dollars in plan for vacations, right? Americans spend more time planning for vacations than they do for their own retirement. Right. But we spend that money on a vacation to go out, and I said I wasn't gonna rant, but here we go. Let's go out and take pictures for the gram and want to tweet and all this kind of stuff, rather than taking that same money, even just for 1 year, take that same money to invest, like you say, in a financial planner or a wealth strategist or someone that can really put pen to paper for you and give you a plan that you can adhere to in order for you to live out your sunset years the way in which you want to, comfortably, without having to worry. So anyway, that's my rant for this episode. Cynthia got and triggered me, man. It triggered me. But anyway, with that being said, Cynthia, I'm going to turn it on over to you so you can go ahead and close us on out.
Right. And I'll just end with this. What you do today determines what will happen in the future. So when I think of retirement, I'm always thinking about today. Because again, we're a consumer nation. We love buying stuff. I love to travel and do things like this. But I always have to remind myself, are you taking care of 55-year-old Cynthia? Are you taking care of 65-year-old Cynthia? Because you have to do it now. You cannot wait till you're 55. You cannot wait till you're 65 or 75 to take care of yourself then. Financially, you have to do it now to take care of yourself in the future. And I'm just going to end on that.
Love it. So for you all, make sure you like, subscribe, tell your mama them. Thank you for joining another episode of Mastering Money Mondays. And until we meet again, y'all take care.
Bye-bye.